Hello, I'm James Vasina and welcome to Buckingham News, live at 5. It's been almost a century since the guns around Europe fell silent, ending World War I. Since then, we annually commemorate the casualties of war. Ingrid Hoja reports on this year's Remembrance Day.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. The poem In Flanders Field was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae during the First World War, and became the inspiration for the Remembrance Poppy, a major symbol of Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day initially started as a day to remember the sacrifice of the soldiers fallen during World War I, but it has grown to commemorate the soldiers and people that have died in all wars from all sides since. The young and not so young in Buckingham came out to show their respect and to honor the bravery and courage of the men and women who serve in conflict.
All the freedoms that we enjoy today rely upon one or two generations gone by.
My father and grandfather fought in the First and Second World Wars.
It's remembering people that fought and died so we can do what we want to do.
It means quite a lot to us because we're ex-scouts.
We spoke to veterans about what Remembrance Day means to them.
Yes, my husband was in the parachute regiment and he lost a lot of friends.
Having lost a few friends in Northern Ireland and then subsequently from my old regiment in Afghanistan, it's quite significant to me.
I think it's remembering everyone, colleagues that I've served with, people who are still serving, people that I've known that were unfortunate to get killed in action or wounded in action.
People and organizations from all over Buckingham came to commemorate the service of our fallen men and women. Representatives from all branches of the armed forces, the town and county councils were in attendance. Next year will mark the 100th anniversary since the start of World War I, and those who gave their lives for crown and country will always be remembered. I'm Ingrid Hoja for Buckingham News.
The entrepreneurial spirit has again taken hold of Buckingham, and this time it's in the form of a bright yellow vintage shop. Sasha Moreira has the story.
All things vintage, from fashion to furniture, have made monumental comebacks over the past few years, and Buckingham is no exception, as new vintage store Curious Minds opens up in Cornwall Place. We spoke to Suzanne Webb, one of the owners of Curious Minds, about the motivation behind their first business venture and passion for vintage.
I've worked in the vintage trade for many years before this, actually for a company. It was a big vintage shop in Birmingham. And it was just something that I fell in love with. But I've always liked charity shops, and I've had second-hand clothes hand-me-downs, and it's just something I've grown up with, I think.
Curious Minds has a warm and welcoming atmosphere and boasts a great selection of clothing and accessories for both women and men. But the question is vintage here to stay, or is it just a trend?
Think about it. It's always been. I was talking to somebody from the 70s and they were wearing 1940s dresses. It wasn't classed as vintage back then. They were called old clothes or second-hand clothes.
I've been working in a shop in Milton Keynes, which is that started off like real vintage like this. And actually they're fading out of it now.
I think it's here to stay, especially for students, because it's a lot cheaper and it's fun and it's new.
Big brands, online entrepreneurs, and charity stores have all stepped up to meet the demand for vintage. Whether it's high street vintage inspired or second-hand items, it looks like vintage clothing is more than just a trend and is here to stay. This is Sasha Moreira for Buckingham News.
During the season of giving, charities around the world experience a resurgence in pressure. Every year, Samaritan's Purse UK collects shoeboxes filled with presents by the local communities and delivers them to underprivileged children around the world. Christopher Gomez went to the local library to find out more.
Christmas is around the corner, and we are slowly approaching the end of the year, and more importantly, its peak. Money is flowing in every direction, and while the retailers rejoice, so did the charities. The Buckingham Town Council is once again collecting filled shoeboxes for Operation Christmas Child, an initiative by Christian charity Samaritan Purse UK. Since 1990, people have been decorating and filling medium-sized shoeboxes with gifts that can include anything from toys to toothpaste. Samaritan Purse then sends them off to the local churches and ministry partners across the world to distribute them to children in need. We went to see what the public thought of the Shoebox charity scheme.
We put in them certain bits of kind of clothing like shoes, nothing perishable.
I would say the only downside to it is ensuring that these boxes of toys actually get to their destination. If they do get to the destination, then it makes complete sense. And
if those children were capable and were given the education to, say, feed themselves, that would be a lot more useful than simply just having more stuff.
Well, I've just given my box away, and I've given a couple of Xbox games because I know they have Xboxes in the community centres out there.
Christmas may be a month away, but the spirit of the holiday can already be felt, in some more than others. If you would like to take part in this tradition, drop by the Buckingham Library during the first 2 weeks of November and grab a leaflet or drop off a shoebox. I'm Christopher Gomez for Buckingham News.
In other news, Buckinghamshire's largest principal local authority, Milton Keynes Council, have admitted breaking the law on councillors' allowances. For the last 2 years, they have failed to publish details of council allowances, as required by law, as a journalism student from the University of Buckingham discovered. Milton Keynes Council promised to rectify the error as soon as possible. MP Hazel Blears gave a lecture to security and intelligence students this Wednesday. She was part of the committee that held the first ever publicly televised conference with the heads of MI5, MI6 and GCHQ.
It's very well done, sort of in a personal setting, to get to know her views on what is going on with the intelligence community at the minute.
Transport Theatre Company performed at Stowe with their contemporary interpretation of Shakespeare's As You Like It.
It's the same with any Shakespeare play, and that's the beauty of it, is that the human behaviour, no matter what century you've lived, the human behaviour is exactly the same.
Directed by Douglas Rintoul, Transport's productions have produced an inventive and thought-provoking version of Shakespeare's classic. The Amnesty International Society hosted a lecture on Wednesday about sexual violence against Indigenous women in the United States and Canada. Dr. Sarah Sargent of the Law Department explained Amnesty's involvement in the matter. Yumna Najdi has the story.
The violence faced by Indigenous women in the US and Canada is a human rights tragedy, and government response has been severely lacking in this area due to racial and sexual bias. Amnesty International, as well as other human rights organizations, have called for a comprehensive action plan to stop violence against women. Amnesty's campaign, No Stolen Sisters, aims to improve public awareness, enable Indigenous women's access to justice, and provide adequate funding to the frontline organizations that provide shelter and support. As an Indigenous human rights advocate, Dr. Sarah Sargent's vision is to spread awareness and inform the public of the iniquity of this controversy.
50%, so we have more frequent attacks, more violent attacks, and at least 86% are occurring by non-Indigenous men.
So how can we change the public's attitude towards Indigenous people?
So many people in Canada and the US either don't know that the Indigenous population is there, or they think that they really should just assimilate, no longer be distinct. That's at the root of the problem, is racism. So how do we eradicate racism? I think a lot of it is some of the work Amnesty does. I think it's very important. It's the work of everyday people and people saying, we don't accept this. Racism is something we don't want in our society.
And do you foresee great change for Indigenous women's rights in the future?
I would like to say yes, but I think the history of pursuing rights shows that change is slow, and sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I think my view is, as much as I'd like to give a positive view, I think it's going to continue to be a long, slow struggle.
For a de facto change in Indigenous women's rights to persevere, we must first enlighten the world of the absence of such basic human rights. Hopefully, more people will be inspired to take action against such injustice in the future. Yumna Najdi, Buckingham News.
Up next, sports with Sasha Marira.
Thank you, James. The university's netball team took part in their second ever fixture this week. Sana Cowler went to watch.
The University of Buckingham's netball team faced Milton Keynes side Netbusters in a friendly game at the Queen Sports Hall last Thursday.
The university side had only played one other game, whereas the Milton Keynes team had years of experience on their side. But under the guidance of coach Tina Irvine, they looked to cause an upset. Throughout the game, both sides matched each other's ability. The quick attacking play by both teams made for a fast-paced, exciting game. Throughout the early stages of the game, the university side repeatedly moved ahead, only for the netbusters to hit back on their next attack. But the university pushed ahead towards the end of the game, finding themselves 2 goals to the good at the final whistle. The game ended 10-8 to the University of Buckingham, giving them their first victory. After the game, I spoke to Lucy Kirby about the performance.
So the girls played the second game of the term last night and it went really well. We won 10-8. It's really good to see lots of the new girls getting involved and everyone working well together, considering we haven't had much practice.
Lucy also spoke about the importance of new students to the side.
It'd be great to see lots of new students get involved in the netball team. It's really good fun. It's really good sport to play. You get to meet lots of people that you might not meet otherwise, and it's a great opportunity to take part in something else at the university.
Whether you're looking to get fit or just to socialise, netball is the perfect sport for you. Contact the sports department for further details. This is Sana Rebecca Collar, Buckingham News.
Last weekend, the University of Buckingham Football Club took their first step towards winning the Divisional Cup. David Mackenzie James has the story.
After a disappointing result last weekend, the University of Buckingham Football Club faced Southcote Village in the first round of the Division 1 trophy. From the beginning, the visitors were dominating the match, but goalkeeper Gov Nair kept the score 0-0. Laddie Lebaud nearly converted one of the university's few chances in the first half. Southcote still looked the better team and had many attempts on goal. 10 minutes from half-time, Southcote took the lead with a curling free kick around the defensive wall. Buckingham welcomed half-time, a chance to regroup and figure out how to turn the match around. Another free kick put the university 2 goals down. However, heads stayed up and striker Will McPhee soon put his team on the scoreboard, after an amazing run and cross by Stefan Regulus. Facing a home defeat, the university stepped up a gear in the last 5 minutes. George Hatswell equalised the game, finishing off a sharp cross from Will McPhee. 40 seconds afterwards, Will McPhee assisted Shannon Birchall, who struck a final blow, giving the university the victory. The University of Buckingham FC awaits other results to see who they will face in the second round of the Division 1 trophy. This is David Mackenzie James, Buckingham News.
And in other sports news, the University of Buckingham Rugby Club travelled to Aylesbury to compete in the Rugby Development 10s Festival. The group of 15 students won all their games, handing them first place. The university side beat Hertfordshire University and Buckinghamshire New University, as well as a mixture of both teams to complete a successful outing. That's it for sports. Now back to James in the studio.
A famous drink from the island of Jamaica is said to enhance sexual performance and increase sexual virility. It's been banned from stores such as Tesco, but is still being sold here in Buckingham. Tajay Prest went to investigate.
Magnum Tonic Wine, a drink that is made to give you energy, vibe and sexual virility. It is a famous drink all across Jamaica and is sold right here in Buckingham. Magnum Tonic Wine's name and label image associates the brand with sexual performance, which breaches the Portsmouth Group's code. The Portsmouth Group collectively account for more than half of the UK alcohol market and was established in 1989 by the UK's leading alcohol producers. Its role is to promote responsible drinking, to help prevent alcohol misuse, and to foster a balanced understanding of alcohol-related issues. J. Ray and Nephew, which makes the product, had not imported it into the UK because it acknowledged it was inappropriate for distribution here. But a third party called Flying Trade had supplied it to specialised food buyers in a small number of Tesco stores. Tesco has withdrawn the product and delisted it.
We offer it about every week, so every week I try. But I don't know how often, but here in the Buckingham School. Only students, not for outside. Only students buy it. Yeah, I tried myself.
Do you think it works?
It's not feeling much, but I like the taste.
I don't know the defects of the products, so I do not want to get myself in kind of trouble.
No, because I'm good enough in bed as it is.
Yeah, I would use Magnum Tonic to improve my sexual ability.
This is Tajay Press from Buckingham News.
Thank you for watching Buckingham News. Have a great day.